What's up, YouTube? Welcome back. So in this video, I want to talk about the latest that's been going on with the George Floyd situation, as well as the protests that have come from the George Floyd situation. And I want to center this video around the black man's public image in the media, um, in regards to this situation with George Floyd and the protest. And as you know, in the previous video, I concentrated on, black women's public image. But in this video, it's more so going to be concentrated around black men's public image. And before I really get into it, the video, I do want to say that, this situation does demonstrate that black people, especially black men, but even more especially black men with influence and money can come together. So I'm thinking like, well, in that case, if togetherness and unity, unity, can is like really a possibility, then perhaps somewhere along the line, this group of elite, perhaps celebrity public black men can, you know, form some schools or hospitals or banks, a police force, a military, or, perhaps something along those lines, a la a Black Panther type of thing, perhaps. Just throwing it out there, right? But I really think that ultimately for everybody, all groups, it's just going to go back to business as usual, you know, in my personal opinion. And also, from what I've heard, the George Floyd funeral has been turned into a tour. I thought that the funeral was kind of like set and done in Minneapolis. Am I saying that right? In Minnesota. But then they were like, oh, well, they're doing one here. And I thought I was like, well, okay, well, he's from Houston, so maybe it's set and done in Houston. But from what I've heard, I don't think that's quite the case. I could be mistaken, but I think that it's going to be like they're doing it in different locations, I think. And to me, I'm giving a bit of a side eye there, because a lot of people I think are looking for like photo ops, and just want to be like, oh, I was there, like this is like a concert or an award ceremony or like a red carpet event or something. And I think that's how a lot of people, especially these celebrities, are low-key treating it, right? And I think that the family may be a little, low-key starstruck and like, whoa, it's such and such coming to support, and things like that. And I really don't think the family is hard up for money if they're doing this for the money. From what I've heard, like George Floyd's GoFundMe account was, last time I heard, like $13 million in this account. It may be even more. So I don't think that George Floyd's family is, hard up for money at this point. You know. And as well, low key, it makes me think that, to an extent, it's kind of like low key dehumanizing in itself. It's almost like, oh, the circus is coming to town. In my personal opinion, it's like, oh, look at this sideshow here almost. Again, I may be reaching, but I don't think I'm reaching that much, especially considering the fact that a lot of people don't even see or treat black people as like fully human beings. I think that's something that needs to be discussed too. I think that oftentimes it comes kind of like in a way of like fetishization. And usually when we hear fetishization, usually it's like, oh, sexual. But not always. It doesn't always have to be like a sexual thing, though. It could be like more of like a style thing. Like, are being fetishized for like coolness, if you want to say, or like talent, like athleticism. Low key, there's some fetishization there in a sense. um, but that's another story for another day. But for today, I kind of want to speak on some of the images that I've been seeing of black men in the media that have been reoccurring. And these images are very strategic. Like the media did this, and it's done very strategically. And I don't think people are quite picking up on it, how they're kind of like low-key juxtaposing the black woman's public image during these protests versus the black men's public image in these protests. Because that's something that needs to be addressed as well. But for one image that you've been seeing lately in the media when it comes to this situation is the crying black man. You know, black man in tears. Black man teary-eyed, right? You know, Killer Mike and John Boyega come to mind, right? You I'm sure you've seen those images as well. And as well as there's other images. Those are just the most popular ones that I can think of at the moment. But I'm sure there's other images as well, right? The crying black man. That's interesting, right? And, not to say that this isn't something to be emotional about, but, you gotta think about how this is being pushed out in the media, low key. Some people could be like, oh, well, maybe it's to garner sympathy. Perhaps, perhaps. But I think it's also in a way to perhaps make black men appear non threatening, which is an image that I think non black people, especially white people, are able to deal with a lot better than the more militant image of a black man or black men. Also, like, there was a young black boy who went viral for singing, and he was singing "I Want to Live," and I think he kind of like sings in church, a gospel singer type thing going on. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. He wants to live. He could have been saying, "I'm gonna live." I think that would have been a bit better, but whatever. But we have that image, right? And then we have that image of that young black girl, right? Who was in like a green or lime shirt, probably like what, 5, 6 years old, maybe. And she's like leading the march and leading the protest, right? And, coming through fighting the power, right? And I think that, again, these images are being put out here strategically, and they're very calculated, and I think in all of the hoopla and all of the mayhem and emotion and whatever else, it's getting lost. Like, we're kind of like overlooking it because of everything else that's going on, right? um, but think about it. I think if the boy was doing what the girl was doing and the girl was doing what the boy was doing, then I think things would be more in line with what we expect when it comes to male gender roles versus female gender roles, right? And as well, I think that if the little boy was, leading the march and the protests and speaking on the mic and all that stuff, I think that would send a more low-key threatening message to the system of white supremacy. And I'm pretty sure that there is some little boy out there, some little black boy out there who is speaking truth to power, you know, at less than 10 years of age and wants to lead the march and the protest and fight the power and, you know, death to the racists and things like and all that good stuff. But I don't think the mainstream media is not going to be pushing that image. It's not. All right, they're not going to be pushing a threatening image of a black man in the media. You know. um, but on the other hand, do you think that if the black boy was being shown in the media as the militant one, do you think that would cause black boys and perhaps black men to have a bigger target on them? And maybe you think, having that in mind, maybe that's part of the reason why perhaps the black community seems to want to push the women and girls up to the front to deliver the message, because perhaps they won't be seen as a bigger threat or a big threat or whatever. So they can deliver the message without perhaps becoming a target. But then again, some people are saying, well, the women are being turned into targets as well, perhaps. But I'm just wanted to throw that out there right quick. Saying, perhaps that's a factor in all of this as well, because it does seem like a lot of black men and you know black men in the community seem to be okay with this, or seem to be letting it ride, or not seem to be speaking up about it. Not, so it seemed like, okay, speak now or forever hold your peace, you know. So yeah. So I think that maybe that may be a factor where it's like, oh, the system of white supremacy will go harder on the black boys than the black girls, perhaps. So maybe that's why people in the community are kind of doing that. Perhaps. Another image in the media that's being shown of black men is the victim black man. You know, we're seeing black male victims of police brutality, being arrested, mistreated. As well, you're seeing it with black women as well. So I'm not going to downplay that. Of course not. But you're seeing the victim black man, right? The black man in handcuffs, right? As well, you're seeing black men, especially celebrity black men, sharing their experiences with racism too, right? I've heard Michael Strahan share his experience with racism, and also Jamie Foxx share his experience with racism as well. And I'm sure there's many other black men out there who have shared their experiences when it comes to racism, right? In the media, right? And it's being pushed in the media, right? And interestingly enough, Michael Strahan and Jamie Foxx both, interracially date, and especially from what I've heard Jamie Foxx say, I think he's kind of experienced, somewhat of some dramatic things in his life. So I do think that's a bit weird, that it's kind of like these dudes are experiencing racism, some of them, but still are open to being with women who are a product, like a direct product of the system of white supremacy, aka white women. Again, we can be with we can be with who we want to be with. That's our choice. We have our preferences, and we can have our requirements, right? We can. I'm just saying, it's just a bit odd, But that's another story, you know. And then we also have the image of the peacekeeping black man, the peacekeeper black man, right? We've seen this with Killer Mike, trying to calm down the riots in Atlanta, right? As well, I've seen this with the WWE wrestler Titus O'Neil as well. They're pushing, the media is, pushing this peacekeeper black man image as well. oh, the black man who's calming everything down, who's keeping the peace, who's making sure people don't riot and lewd, right? He's getting the situation under control. And some people may be thinking, like, well, is that necessarily a bad image? And it's not, but it is. It's like, on one hand, it's like, it's good to see black men in a position of, say, authority and utilizing their platform to try and take control of a situation that's sort of out of control. But ultimately, what they're doing doesn't push back against the system of white supremacy, but rather helps to, like, it low key colludes with the system, low key, and it kind of just doesn't really challenge it as much, right? You don't really see a black man out there who's getting media coverage, at least, who's saying, pretty much just fight the power, for lack of a better phrase. You don't really see that. It's more so you're seeing the peacekeeper black man who may be saying a couple of things here and there during their speech, like, oh, F Donald Trump, or something like that, or, you know, racism had, they've had our necks on our throats for over 400 years, something like that, but ultimately, I don't think it really challenges the system. So I think because of that, it needs to be on the list, you know. um, and then we have some images of black men who are, you know, protesting, rioting, and looting as well. And I think when it comes to the rioting and looting, I think that image, it may show black men as more so men who are, I don't know, it seemed like it seems like the rioting black men and the looting black men, I don't know if they really seem to have a plan. And it more so seems to help kind of like perpetuate like the thug gangster narrative that's already out there. All right. And as well, I don't really think this rioting and looting black man is really a threat to the system per se. You know, I mean, he's a threat to, like, communities and whatnot, but not necessarily the system, right? So it just shows like a wild ass black man that's out of control, that, doesn't really have a plan seemingly, and it's just being just a wild ass Negro on the loose, looting and stealing. Yeah. So it's not necessarily like a threat to the system, maybe a threat to the community or the immediate community that he is in, or um, in at that moment. But yeah. Um, Another image, and this is probably the last image that I have, is the image of the white acceptance black man. You know, you see this with a lot of like swirling black man. Like my previous video that I did about Shola Richards, right? And low key, his plea for white acceptance, right? I also seen a black man from Akron, an older black man, low key, pleading for white acceptance, Like, oh, we're all the same. There's no difference between us. If you see black and white, you got a problem. Like, seriously, that's what some of the stuff that was being said, right? From an older black man, right? Um, So ultimately, all of these images ultimately come together to form the Megazord, if you will, Voltron, if you will, um, image of the non-threatening black man. All right, they have that. All these images come together and form that one big image of the non-threatening black man. And I think at this particular point, people should see black men as a threat. Or to an extent, like, oh, if you don't do what, not necessarily if you don't do what they say per se, but like if we are not heard, and if we and our demands are not met, you know, there's going to be some consequences type thing. You're not really seeing something like that, right? I wish I could articulate that a little bit better as far as that is concerned, but I think you can gather what I'm trying to say, you know. So you see this image of the non-threatening black man in the media, which is putting a lot of white people at ease, right? Yeah. Because white folks don't like to feel uncomfortable and feel like their lives are at risk, you know, from a black uprising, right? And media images are powerful, as we know, right? So now, these are just some things to think about in all of this. But ultimately, I don't think black people, black men, black women really care about the black man's image really being seen like that. Just as I don't think a lot of people care about the black woman's image being seen as, the fight the power sister soldier image. But ultimately, as I mentioned in the previous video that I did with the black woman's image, I think the black man's image is going to take a hit in some way too. But I think in this situation, this will perhaps help black men better assimilate into the system of white supremacy as being seen as non-threatening, in these images per se. But it won't really help the black man standing within the system of white supremacy. Um, and then some people are going to come through and be like, well, the black man should be fighting against the system, right? Which, all right, that's definitely a thing. That's definitely an argument, definitely. But the thing is, I don't think there's enough who really want to go down that road and go down that path, because it is a tough path. It's not as easy as you think, right? So they're probably going to do the next thing, which is to get a good position within the system of white supremacy. And I think a lot of black women may be, slow to the uptake, late to the party, didn't get the memo. Because I think a lot of black women are, particularly the ones who are on the front lines, I think they are under the assumption or the impression that we are headed to like Wakanda land, or Wakanda town, and that we're going to be heading to some like, pro-black utopia type thing. And I just don't think that's true. I could be wrong, anything's possible, but seeing as it seems like black men are more so on the multicultural tip, while the black women are on the pro-black tip, I don't think so. I think, folks are on their, right, it seemingly got two different agendas here, two different agendas, and I don't think they're going to merge very well. We can't have both pro-black and multiculturalism existing in the same space. It's, I mean, there are people who I would call like the pro-black multiculturalist, where it's like they sprinkle pro-black seasoning on their multiculturalism. But ultimately, it's just multiculturalism with some pro-black seasoning. It's not truly pro-blackness, though, as it should be. It's just some pro-black flavoring. Don't be fooled by the flavoring now. All right. Um, but think about it. As I mentioned before, with black boys and with the image of like thugs, they'll show young black boys and men with guns being portrayed as thugs and gang bangers, but they won't show them with guns, being portrayed as protectors, revolutionaries, freedom fighters in the media. You won't see that. You won't see a picture of, say, the Nation of Islam or like, the Black Panther type of thing. You won't really see that. And, sidebar here, Tyrese been dressing as a Black Panther for some reason. I'm like, really? These actors, these celebrities, I tell you. And also, I feel like with these protests, I feel like really with this whole situation, I feel like white supremacy low-key pushing Rebecca in there to calm the savage black male beast. I think, they know how to calm the savage black male beast, right? Just send him back in. Maybe she'll cry a couple of white tears and be like, I hate that racism exists. We all should be equals. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry that you have to go through this. I'm sorry about the racism. I'm sorry. And some shit like that, right? And, that's being low-key pushed in the media as well. But something else I want to talk about is YG, the rapper, filming a video at like an event for Breonna Taylor, who has been, not receiving as much media coverage as, say, George Floyd or perhaps Ahmaud Arbery. But yeah, he came through and was, using this event as an opportunity to film a music video. And it's like, really? And I know that it's just going to be some folks want to come through and defend him and be like, oh, he was trying to honor the memory of Breonna Taylor. Oh, you don't know what he was trying to do with that. Oh, basically let's give him the benefit of the doubt, right? But the thing is, though, let's say if like Chrisette Michele came through and was filming a music video at like a George Floyd event. Would people be giving her the benefit of the doubt? Or even if like Megan Thee Stallion did that, would people be giving her like the benefit of the doubt about something like that? Or would they come in and drag first and ask questions later? I think they would probably come in and drag them, down the street, stomp them with their feet, spit on them, and then afterward they may ask a question or two. And I heard that the rapper Chica called him out. And, definitely kudos to her. But also, I'm like, well, why did it have to be a woman to call him out? Why couldn't a man step up and call him out about that shit? Perhaps maybe there is a celebrity black man who has. I'm not sure. I haven't heard of it yet, but perhaps. All right. And, since Chica is doing this calling out and, seemingly the dark-skinned black woman is in vogue right now, and she's being praised for being so strong, right, and fearless and independent and all that stuff, right? Is that going to carry over to this situation with Chica? Or are folks going to flip the script? All right, just saying. And are they going to cancel YG like they, trying to cancel Trina because she called the protesters or rioters or looters animals? And, If they can make excuses for YG, then can people make excuses for Trina? And say, maybe Trina was having a bad day. Maybe you caught her in a bad mood. Perhaps it was that time of the month. Perhaps maybe, she wanted to just enjoy a nice day in Miami without thinking about some looters and rioters, or protesters. you know. So, are they going to try and cancel YG like they throwing a cancel party to, cancel Trina? Something to think about. And then we have these celebrities coming through who ain't gave a fuck about any type of shit like this up till now, right? Celebrities who have come through and either said some racist shit, said some all lives matter shit, or just didn't give a shit to give a shit. And now everyone want to come through and ride the wave, right? Ride the trend, ride the movement, right? But for what? They just using this shit for for clout, to follow the latest trends, to secure the bag, to protect access to non-black women, or just because they're bored and want an excuse to loot and riot. you know, like for instance, like Jennifer Lopez, aka Yuck Butt. Like Jennifer Lopez, Yuck Butt ass, is saying Black Lives Matter now. Before, she was saying all lives matter. And there's receipts on that. But now she's saying Black Lives. She's marching with a sign saying Black Lives Matter. That's what I be saying. It's like, these people, they're so damn fanatical. Like, I think somebody, needs to be keeping some damn receipts on all these damn celebrities coming out and, claim to be non-racist and anti-racist and marching saying Black Lives Matter. Because I want to see where they end up after all of this settles down, blows over, goes back to normal, goes back to the status quo. I want to see where they're at once that happens, right? Time will tell. And as well, Camila Cabello coming through with her boyfriend, Shawn Mendes, in the March for Black Lives Matter and police brutality protests. And, she already got caught up in that scandal about, saying some racist things against black women under some sort of a social media account she was using, saying some racist things about black women, right? But now, all of a sudden, you're against police brutality, right? But when you got caught, you didn't really want to come through and say some real shit. You just wanted to give some whack ass, apology that was probably written by your PR folks, right? And then we got Justin Bieber wanting to come through. And I'm like, okay, well, there was a video of you floating around, like when you were like 13, saying all these like N-word jokes. And then when it came out, you didn't really come through and really go hard and address the situation. You just gave some, whack ass apology that was, again, probably written by your PR folks and kept it moving. You wasn't really talking about no shit like this prior to. You wasn't really admitting that you, jacked and stole from black culture. You wasn't really admitting all that, And it's like, oh, well, maybe they had a change of heart, People change. People can redeem themselves. And that's true. People can, but I just don't think this is it. It took this situation, for you to see all of this. And that's what really kind of just irritates me. Like, it's just like you ever had a situation in your personal life when you just know someone is on some like fakeness type shit. Like, you just know for you either have a feeling or either know for a fact that this person is being just straight up fake. Like you heard them talking about one person and they're in that person's face acting like they're their friend. Right? You know, something like that. But on a bigger scale, you know. And, again, Michael B. Jordan wanted to come through. And he wanted to, talk about wanting to make, you know, Hollywood a more diverse place in terms of the acting roles, right? And I'm like, are you really caping for black folks or just caping for your next gig? A lot of people trying to ride this shit to get where they gotta go. Michael B. Jordan, he thought that the Black Panther was going to make things pop, 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 and things didn't quite pop, pop, pop like he thought they were. Even though he was in a $1 billion movie, even though he starred in a $1 billion movie produced or by Marvel, right? He's still getting that second class treatment in Hollywood. You know, despite that, I'm just saying. And probably the same with Chad Boswick. I think that's his name. And pretty much the whole damn Black Panther cast, pretty much. You know. And also, where is Daniel Kaluuya at in this? But he did say he didn't want to talk about race stuff anymore, though. So I guess he's sticking with that because I haven't seen him come through and say shit. And, I will commend him for that. At least he ain't, trying to ride this wave right now. But if you do come through, it's like, oh, I thought you didn't want to talk about racism anymore. Right? Even though he got his whole come up off of race-based movies, though. Right? Another story, though. But yeah, I'm going to end this video. But ultimately, I just think that these folks are just doing this all for like clout and a photo op. And, to follow the latest trends. Ooh, anti-racism. Yeah. To secure the bag, get some money. A lot of these stores are, struggling. So they want to come through and be like, oh, we support the protesting against police brutality. The stores that have had a history of being racist against black folks. Walmart. And also some of these black folks coming through just want to protect their access to non-black women, and again, some people are just bored. We've been on quarantine for a good minute. They just want to go outside and do some shit. And they just want to loot and ride. Oh, let me get a flat screen TV since we're here now. Oh, let's get this flat screen TV. And then, this is probably going to be the last thing, but we have these, like, I've been seeing these images of like white women coming through and in the protests. And they're not saying like, oh, Black Lives Matter, F the police, I can't breathe, things like that. They're coming through and with like, oh, BBC matters. Seriously. Are like coming to a protest with an adult novelty toy. I think y'all know what I'm talking about. An adult novelty toy, in the shape of, as well as black, right, in the shape of a penis. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And then it's a black dude who kind of low-key went viral for saying, oh, your daughters love every inch of us. He had this sign up, right? And of course, we know the inches is referring to penis, and that's the thing too. It's like, okay, do you want, it's like, oh, it went like, oh, your daughters love every inch of us, why can't you? And it's like, okay, so you want white men to love BBC too? Because that low key seems what is being pushed. I don't think that's what he meant it as. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt there. But low key, that could be an argument that's being made. Like, oh, your daughters are hypnotized by the BBC. Why aren't you? What the fuck? Right? Like, what the hell? You want these dudes to be coming through? These like redneck. Oh hell yeah! I love me some damn BBC. God damn it, motherfucker. Yeah. Jaquan and Tyshawn, come and bring your big black nigger cocks over here and fuck my wife with it. God damn it. Karen, come over here. I got you a nice anniversary present for our 10th anniversary. I got you some big black nigger cock to suck and fuck on all night long, and while I film it with this video camera. Oh, no, sorry. My cell phone camera. God damn it. Alright. Sorry about that. I know that was a little much. But that seemingly, I don't know, it seemed like that's just perhaps where they're trying to go with this shit. But yeah, why is there being perversion in like a Black Lives Matter protest? Like sexual stuff in a, like a protest about police brutality, in a movement. I don't want to say this is a movement. um, but yeah, why is this being brought up right now? That's what I'm saying. It's interesting. But I'm going to bring this video to a close. Sorry for going on for so long. Please feel free to comment and let me know what you think about all of this. Until the next video, adios and goodbye for now. Peace.